Welcome back to Plant Revelations, and today I want to talk to you about how to plant an Acer in a correct position. And we're going to be moving this Acer. Basically, we're correcting some design mistakes, not a garden redesign, but every plant has a front and back. I'm going to show you the correct way to plant your Acer so you get the best out of it. As you can see, it is way too close to the buddleia next to it, so they're almost growing into each other, and the buddleia will get bigger than the Acer, probably reach about 7 or 8 foot. The Acer is going to make a nice tree. Very quickly they're going to be growing inside each other, so it needs to be moved this way towards where I'm standing, and we need to rotate it so we can get much more out of this lovely specimen Acer. This Acer is one called Sango Kaku, and it's got fantastic red stems, greeny limey foliage in the summer, which obviously turn this lovely yellowy orange in the winter. But these red stems are almost like ornamental red stems, almost like a dogwood or a cornus. So you get the autumn interest, the lovely lime green leaves in the summer, and you get winter interest, whereas most Acers don't look that great in the winter. So I'm going to start to dig this out now, and then we'll come back to you in a moment. So I've just lifted this Acer out, and it's only gone in last winter. It was obviously a root ball plant, so it was quite easy to dig out. Now, the Japanese say that your Acer should open you with open arms, so it should be like, at the moment it's like plugging the buddleia, but it should be like this. So as you come down the path, either direction, you'll get a much nicer view of the Acer. So we'll just turn this round. So how's that looking, Holly?
That looks really good.
That's better, is it? And also this is going to break up the shed, which isn't very attractive. Just use this grafter here just to temporarily prop it up so we can stand back and have a good look. It's tangled up a bit there. That looks a lot better, a lot better, and it's got plenty of room to grow. We can appreciate its full shape. So we just go ahead and plant that now. So the next thing to do, which is often a problem with Acers, a lot of people lose their Acers and they cost a lot of money, but it's often because they are over top dressed in the nurseries, and then people plant them at the same height at which they receive them. So really we want to be seeing the buttress roots on this Acer, because otherwise long term it can rot. So we'll just tease some of the roots out here. So what tends to happen is they grow them in the field and they'll lift them, and then they put them into a pot, top dress them heavily, or they'll weed them and then top dress them heavily, and they end up covering the actual stem of the tree, and you plant it the same height as your pot, which is correct in most instances, but you'll find that you're actually burying the stem. The Acer does fine for a couple of years and then it slowly dies. So we'll just loosen up the top of this and we'll scrape away all this, even though there's roots in it, until we start to see a nice buttress root. You can see this was up to over an inch, maybe 2 inches too deep. And long term, that bark would have started to rot off, because the wood above the ground on the actual trunk is totally different to the wood that you would get in the roots. It's not waterproof, if you like. So we'll do that. So what I'm doing is just breaking up these roots with a handful, teasing them apart, and you can see we're starting to get to, you can see how deep that was planted. That's the graft. But you can see this is the main trunk and it's been planted way too deep. There's actually a bit of string around it. This that was probably get some secateurs and we'll chop that off. But that's a bit of string that was put maybe part of the original root ball or something. A string or hessian. So that one's taken off because eventually that will cut into the trunk. I don't know if you can see that there. Take it out and you can see once we've done this, not actually that much, not a lot of root left on it. Once we've If we use a hand fork, we're just teasing the roots and we can just brush the soil away without ripping them completely off. You can be quite rough with it, especially this time of year, because they're not going to dry out now going into winter. Great, so I'm just going to do that for a little bit longer, scrape a bit more away. We can see a bit more trunk where I can start to see the first buttress roots coming out from the trunk. And then we'll get on to planting it. As you can see, we've done a nice square hole here, which might seem a bit strange, but this is now seen the way you should plant trees, and that's to stop something called root girdling. So that the idea is if it's a round hole, the roots will go round and round and round. After many years, the roots will get thicker and thicker, strangle the stem, almost like a corkscrew effect, strangle the stem, and then the tree can just fall over one day. I mean, these don't get very big acers, so it's not so much as a worry as it would be like something like a big oak tree or a big willow tree that grows, but anything that's going to grow quite tall, fast, or a silver birch. But it's good practice to do it. So we've got a nice square hole. We don't put anything in the hole. That's an old-fashioned sort of old wives' tale. I should say old wives' tale, should I? That's just an old-fashioned horticultural practice, which is no longer relevant. If you put good compost in the hole, you're also encouraging root girdling. So it's much better if you want to feed the tree, just to give order a general mulch afterwards. Obviously, if the compost in the hole is much nicer than the soil on the outside of the hole, you'll find the trees won't make the effort to get out of the hole, so it won't be a stable tree and it won't be drought tolerant. So now we've repositioned the tree back where we want it. Just note that the hole is a lot bigger than the actual root ball of the tree, and the root ball is slightly proud. That's fine, that's what we want. Because, like I say, the biggest cause of death with acers and a lot of trees is being planted too deep. So better to be planted slightly too high than too deep. And in fact, now the common consensus is to plant them on a mound. So yeah, plenty of space around here, and then you can backfill easily without any air pockets. So we'll start to backfill. You can see there's a branch here, which is a bit weird. It's crossing. Ultimately, we'll leave it on for now, but ultimately that one will come off so that we can get a better shaped tree. And this one back here will be the leader. That one potentially will get shortened. It's a nice branch, but we want the apical dominance, the hormones, to go to the highest branch, so we get a nice shape. But that's not for now, that's for another day. So all I'm going to do now is spread these roots out and whole, and then start to backfill. And when I'm about halfway through, I'll press it down with my fork, and then I'll probably do it a couple of times towards the end as well, just to firm the soil around the tree. Now, you could put a tree stake in this to stop it from blowing over in the wind, and we still might do that, but we haven't got one with us right now. We didn't know we were going to do this today. And this whole garden is surrounded by these 20-foot Leylandii trees on that side, and then this shed and the Petinia and the other trees. So it's very sheltered, so it's unlikely it's going to blow over. But if this was in a more exposed spot in the garden, we'd definitely stake it. So I'll start backfilling now. So we just give this one last firm cover up from the roots on the side. It doesn't matter if there's a few roots on the top exposed, it's not a big deal. The top of the root ball, if you can see the top of the root ball where the pot was before, that's totally fine. And if there's a few roots exposed, it's not a problem, it's not going to kill the tree. Like I say, you can see, look, there now, it was almost 3 inches too deep. That would have certainly died long term. And there's also another problem with this tree. I just grabbed them secateurs. Up here, we can see this little plastic tag has been left on, which probably had a cane attached to it originally, or it might have had a label, but if I cut it off, you can see it's already starting to dig into the tree, and eventually the bark would have grown around that and it would have cut off the circulation to the tree, and this branch would have slowly died. So it's really important to remove these little plastic tags. Holly mentioned something. Why is this side of the tree the red side and the new side is now pale? And that's because it's the sun that turns those stems a bright red. So although they might not get the colourful stems this winter, next year they will be just as red as the ones on the back here, which I don't know if you can see. One last thing I forgot to mention is, obviously always remember to water, but this time of year the ground is very damp. We're not watering because of moisture. We'll water this to basically try and make sure there's no air pockets around the tree, so the water will actually compress the soil and make the soil contact the roots again. Because where there's an air pocket, the roots will die and dry out. When you've got a nice specimen plant like this, it's really important to plant it properly, get the most out of it. It would have took, the way it was too close to this, so we might have had to get rid of one of the plants eventually. Once it's fully rooted, you don't really want to be moving it. And it could have took years for it to regrow evenly on the north side, which is the side which was all bare. And now we've instantly improved this area of the garden and covered up more of the shed, which is great. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Catch you later.